Hello everyone, it's Jenn from McCreath on August 3rd, 2025. And I just watched a tennis match on TV from the Canadian Open. So I thought I'd have a little fun and go deep into the archives of the bowels of my storage room and dig out a really cool souvenir I got from the 1993 Canadian Open. This is a can of tennis balls. But it's not just any can of tennis balls. If you look at the label, Players Limited Challenge Official Ball. Isn't that interesting? Back in 1993, cigarette companies were allowed to sponsor tennis tournaments. So for several years, the Canadian Men's Championship was the Players Open, and the Women's was called the Matinee Open. But I guess when they made the tennis balls, they just put Players Challenge on it. Yes, these are in fact official used tennis balls in the women's final. The challenge is being able to prove that. Now, one thing that's really bizarre is they put stickers on top of the can. The feature standard. And on this side it says regular felt soft court surface USTA approved. As you all know, they go through a lot of tennis balls because they play 7 games, then they switch the balls, then every 9 games thereafter they switch the balls. And they're never used again on the Pro Tour. Some of you may be wondering, why do they play 7 and then 9, 9, 9, 9, 9? Well, it's because they actually use the same balls in the warm-ups, so the warm-up is supposedly the equivalent of 2 games. Anyway, back at the old National Tennis Center, not the new one, they had an area where you could buy souvenirs, of course, and there were vendors. You could buy the latest, hottest new tennis outfit that all your favorite players were wearing. And you'd probably pay 4 times as much than if you were to go to a regular sporting goods store and buy apparel there. But one thing they did sell was used tennis balls, which is great. Most of us amateurs don't necessarily need new tennis balls. We're quite happy to play with balls that have been used for 9 games. So I must have bought several dozen of these. Back then, they probably sold these off for maybe $2 or $3 a can. Ironically, I actually saved this one because this one was actually from the finals, which is a very unique game. Hang on, I gotta read this because I can't remember all the specifics. The 1993 Canadian Open tennis tournament was played on outdoor hard courts. It was the 104th edition of the Canadian Masters. And back in those days, the men played early. They played July 26th to August 1st in Montreal that year, and then the ladies wouldn't play until August 16th to the 22nd. Now they've got them jammed together at the same time. I don't like that. I'd like to see them split it up again. I even have an idea for you. ATP, WTA. A lot of tennis fans would love to go to both tournaments. And you can't do that if they're held concurrently in different cities. So what you need to do, expand it from a 2-week event to a 4-week event. You're going to have the men for 2 weeks, and then you're going to have the ladies for 2 weeks. And you're going to flip-flop with your friends down in Cincinnati. Instead of having, of course, the men and women play in Cincinnati together at the same time after the Canadian Open, you'll split them up. So not only will Cincinnati have 1 tennis tournament, they will have 2. Anyway, just an idea. But back to our story here. Wow. So I'd played tennis quite a bit as a youth, and it started out literally with my mom taking me over to the school, and we just hit tennis balls against the wall, back and forth, back and forth. So you didn't even need an opponent. You could just go and practice smashing the tennis ball against the brick wall, and it would bounce back at you. Then a few years later, my dad decided, well, how about we play tennis and work on this together? So a rivalry was born, and myself and my dad played a lot of tennis, and at first he was beating me, but then I kind of grew up and got a little older, a little stronger, and a little better. And we started beating Dad so bad that he had to throw in the towel and retire. He blew out his shoulder, and that was really unfortunate. Of course, we would play sporadically over the years. But it wasn't until I actually turned 18. It's hard to believe 18 is too old to pursue a sport. I know there's kids going to college now, and breaking into the tour late. But back then, if you took up tennis at the age of 18, you were too old. There's no way you would ever have enough time to be good enough to make it to the pros, but I didn't care. I love the sport. I found some friends at school and some friends in my neighborhood that played, and I put together a league of over 100 people. So you could say my teenage years, before I got a summer job, I literally spent 8 to 12 hours per day on the tennis court for anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So I got to be pretty good at this. Somehow I learned that there was this obscure exhibition called the Sun Life Nationals, a closed tennis tournament only available to Canadians, which in theory is kind of cool. This would have been June '93. So one day I just decided, you know what? I'm going to take this GO train way the heck out to the end of Mississauga. And there was a little tennis club down there in Clarkston. And I can't remember how much the ticket were. Well, not a lot. I believe it was Saturday, because I got to see the women's final, Patricia He against Renee Simpson. And I also got to see the men's semis, as well as some doubles. I got to see Grant Connell, Glenn Michabata, and Daniel Nestor, and Andrew Schneider all play tennis. And I was probably sitting in the front row. And I'm like, God, these guys are amazing. And gals. So that experience led me to take an interest in this official Canadian Open. So I actually managed to score some VIP seats to the last 3 days of the matinee Open. The finals, of course, would be Jennifer Capriati against Steffi Graf. And what was a very interesting time, a very interesting tournament. Let's just back up a little bit. Steffi had been the top player for several years, 86, 87, 88, 89. Then 1990 came around, and these two young kids, there was a 16-year-old named Monica Seles that was a really good player, and a 14-year-old named Jennifer Capriati. And out of nowhere, both of these girls got into that French Open, steamrolled all the way into the semifinals, and I'd watched pro tennis on TV sporadically, but it wasn't until that news story broke that I turned on the TV and actually sat down and watched tennis live on television on a regular basis. So Capriati made it to the semis at the age of 14. I think that's a record that still stands. Seles beat Graf and would go on to beat Graf several times over the next couple of years. And it became quite evident that young 19-year-old Monica Seles, with 7 majors in 2.5 years, was by far the best player in the world. Capriati was evolving and became a top 5 player. Then, of course, tragedy struck when Monica Seles was attacked by a fan who literally put a knife into her back. Luckily, she survived the attack, but the physical injuries kept her out of tennis for a while, and the emotional trauma from having to deal with that kept her out even longer. Monica would never be the same. So here we are, a couple months later. That was in May, I believe, 93. So we're going to fast forward here to August. There had been some issues getting the top players to come to Canada. This is before it was deemed an official 1,000 event. I'm not sure how much money or how many points they gave these people, but there were competing tournaments held at the same time in the US and in Europe, so it became a real struggle and a real battle for the folks running the Canadian Open. How do we get the best players to come here? And I'm just looking now at the draw of the 1993 Women's Open here in Toronto. Pretty good list of players. Graf, Sanchez Vicario, Sabatini, Mary Jo Fernandez, Jana Novotna, Jennifer Capriati, Anka Huber, Manuela Maleva, Helena Sokova, Mary Pierce. There's your top 10 seeds, probably all ranked within the top 15 at that time. So we had an interesting tournament. Most of the seeds did well. Coming into the quarterfinals, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 12 seeds still alive. Only one upset surprise. Julie Hallard had made the quarterfinals. I remember being there Friday night, getting ready to watch this match, and all of a sudden, Jennifer Capriati came walking out, getting ready to go to the court. But then some sort of buzz happened. Capriati was sent back to the locker room, and 5 minutes later, they come over the PA system and say, Julie Hallard has forfeited the match. There's not going to be a singles match tonight. Needless to say, I was really pissed off. I was a big Capriati fan. I wanted to see her play live. It was quarterfinal Friday. There'd actually been rain in the week, so there were still round of 16 matches on the Friday. I got the tickets and went after work, so I would have pulled into the tournament around 5 o'clock, 5:30. So there was round of 16 matches still ongoing, but eventually the quarters would get underway. Other matches would be played. But alas, I had to wait till Saturday, 24 hours to watch those semis. Number 1, Steffi Graf against number 8, Manuela Maleva. And Graf beat the piss out of her, 6-2, 6-1. And then the number 6 seed, Jennifer Capriati, took on the number 2 seed, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario. First set went into a tiebreaker, 10-8 Capriati. It's going to be emotionally debilitating to lose a tiebreak, 10-8. You're playing out in the hot Toronto sun for probably an hour and 20 minutes. So Capriati took the second set, 6-2. I remember going to those Saturday with my buddy Ray. How you doing, Ray? Hard to believe this was 32 years ago. So alas, Sunday would be the finals. It would be Steffi Graf against Jennifer Capriati. We had seen them play several matches in 1990. After that amazing French Open run for Capriati, where she lost to Celis in the semis, her ranking went from way, way, way down there to top 15. Which, unfortunately for Capriati, meant that at Wimbledon and the US Open, she was seeded somewhere between 13 and 16, which meant she drew Steffi Graf in the round of 16 for both of those tournaments. And let's just say those matches didn't quite go so well for Capriati, but that's okay. So here we are, Graf Capriati. An amazing match to see. My first final, and I was there in VIP seats, and wow, what an interesting match. First set, Graf 6-1. Second set, Capriati 6-love. Third set, Steffi Graf 6-3. Interesting, the momentum swings there. I'm trying to remember. Not too many people got a bagel on Steffi Graf in the early 90s, especially in a final. So perhaps a little consolation. Anyways, at some point during the match, these balls were utilized, which is really cool. I've got a pen 6, got another pen 6, and somehow we got a pen 2 out of here. I believe, is it 3 cans? Every time they change and have new balls, I think they have at least 9 balls. So it's not uncommon that you would get a can of balls like this from that were used. They probably just threw them all in the pile and said, used, Capriati graph. So unless I get some sort of DNA warrant, it's going to be tough to prove. But I don't know, 32 years later, 33 years later, if you were to DNA test these balls, you would probably find small samples of Jennifer Capriati, Steffi Graf, and the ball kids' DNA on these, as well as mine. But you know what? I'm not looking to price this. Something I'm going to keep forever till my days on Earth are done. And wow, I can't remember if it was that particular day or subsequent days, but I got a chance to meet both Jennifer and Steffi. The old stadium, they actually had to walk through a regular laneway from the dressing room to the courts. So security would come out, they put out these big ropes, and it's like Moses parting the sea. But of course the fans would all line up right at the edge of the rope, and they'd be reaching out with their program and their pencil. Steffi, can I get you to sign my program? I know you're just getting ready to go to the match. Most of them wouldn't sign before the match, but after the matches, they'd be, especially the winners, they'd be quite happy to do it. So I got a chance to get Steffi to sign my program, and Jennifer at some point as well. Very cool. I would go to that National Tennis Center in Toronto every year thereafter until it closed down. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2004 was the last one, and then they moved to the new stadium the next year. But yeah, tons of fun memories from going to the old National Tennis Center up in York University, Kiel and Steeles. I get that times had changed and they needed a better venue and a new venue, and the new venue is lovely, but for me the memories go back to that old stadium. And some of the old outer courts, they didn't even have bleachers. You go out to court 10 and you just stand and lean up against the fence. And most of the best singles players usually were not out there, but some of them played doubles. So I got to literally stand right in front of some of the best tennis players in the world, singles and doubles, playing doubles. Anyway, there's my story for the day. Fun memories. Thanks for watching, and yeah, time to watch some more tennis.